What is up, all you cool cats and kittens? Yes, I stole that from a dear friend, Brian Coyne. Hey, guess what? I'm back. Yes, I know it's been like a month. I do apologize, but I'm back. Welcome to Shape the Podcast. You all know me, Kyle Waller here. And yes, before any questions are asked, the beard is coming back, okay? I have to just point that out every single episode because if I don't, somebody will say something about it. So let's see. How's everybody been? First of all, I'll see we have one viewer. If that one viewer can share out the podcast, that would be great. Um, I'm sure that one viewer is probably my wife. So yeah, see, look at that. Somebody shared out, and I'm getting two. Yes, my wife says she's great. Yes, we know you're great because you're married to me. Okay, that's why you're great. But anyways, what is going on, everybody? Um, it has been a month that there has not been a podcast. Um, but it feels great to be. Hey, what's going on, Jacob from Jacked Up Leatherworks? Nice to see you, sir. Yes, look at the Christmas decor behind me. Uh, that was put up by my wife to much chagrin. Um, I am the curmudgeon of Christmas decorations, of Christmas trees. I I just don't. It's not. I'm just not feeling it this year. But we won't go into why. I'm just not feeling it. So yeah. So it's been a month. Um, Thanksgiving has come and gone. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Um, I know we did here at our household, mainly because we spent it with family and friends. Um, and then, man, let's see. Nothing else has been going on. I tell you, it's been a relatively quiet, start to the holidays for us. But I have a feeling it's just going to get busier. But anyways, enough rambling. Just want to do some quick notes, housekeeping, real quick. This isn't a I don't know. It's not really podcast related, but it is all about helping somebody in the community that we know. Um, those of you who remember a while back ago, the beard oil company, White Oak Beard Supply, that I'm sponsored by, we held a beard competition for Baby Jackson Menace. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but we held that competition and helped raise money to help out his family while they're staying at the Ronald McDonald House. Well, right now, as we speak, um, Cajun Myers from the Pack Beard Club, um, they have decided that they're doing a patch and sticker sale. Um, those patches and stickers, I believe, are $10 right now for the holidays. And what it is a patch with Baby Jackson on it, and he's got a heart with wings, and it says "Heart Warrior." Um, all that money raised to those from those patches will go directly to the Ron McDonald House of Cincinnati, which is where Baby Jackson's parents are staying while Jackson is in the hospital. Which he just had his second procedure done. He had his Glenn done, and it looked like it went well. So that's good. But yeah, keep Derek and Tiffany and Baby Jackson in your thoughts and in your prayers. I know they would appreciate it. So I'm killing time because I'm waiting on my guest to pop back up. Um, but oh yes, speaking of, right, guest, future guests on down the road. Um, Big prayers are going out right now to Natalie and Aaron Johnson. Natalie is back in the hospital. Um, they found some blood around the area where her kidney was. Um, so yeah, Natalie is back in the hospital right now. Um, so if you would just keep Aaron and Natalie in your thoughts and in your prayers. Um, I know that they just had a big GoFundMe thing done that a member of the breeding community did for them, and I believe it raised over $4,000. So that's awesome. So that money will be going directly to Aaron and Natalie, and along that lines, um, Jason Kiley, who was part of that, made a boot, All right. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen Jason Kiley's work, but he does great. Like he makes mugs, bowls, boots, ceramic boots. Um, he did a ceramic boot with a bunch of sayings from Natalie on it, and even a picture of Natalie on that boot. Well, that boot was auctioned off as part of the GoFundMe, and it just so happens that my wife won that boot. Right? So my wife will be getting the Natalie boot from Jason Kiley, but on top of that, Natalie Johnson is actually getting her own boot from Jason Kiley as part of that the whole GoFundMe that they did for the Johnsons. Um, let's see what else about Natalie. Oh, if you head over to the You Matter um, beard page, there's a great way to support that as well. Um, Shannon Klinkenbeard, who's a big part of the bearding community, they are doing a T-shirt sale, um, and it's Natalie Strong T-shirt. It's the design is designed by Corey Wilson, who everybody knows. But that is going to be all that money. Yeah, speaking of Shannon Klinkenbeard, all the money raised from the T-shirt sale that Shannon is doing will be going directly to Natalie and Aaron, and he is also accepting sponsorships for that T-shirt. Um, if you get a hold of Shannon and you want to be a sponsor on that shirt, it's just $100, and your name, whether it be a company name, your name, whatever you want to go on the back of that shirt, it will go on the back of the shirt that they are making for Aaron and Natalie, and then you will also get a shirt with it. So $100 a sponsorship. Like I said, all money raised from the proceeds of that shirt will go directly to Aaron and Natalie as well. So that's all about giving back that way. Sharing hope, positive encouragement to people in the breeding community and in life who need it right now. But enough of that. I'm gonna go ahead and bring on my guest. My guest tonight is a gentleman that I got to know briefly while he was at the brewery that I work at. He's an awesome young man. His name is Victor Navarro. He is from the Chicago. Yeah, there you go. My wife will put the link to the fundraiser app, the app fundraiser, to the group page. So she's my technical guru in the background. But anyways, tonight's guest, Victor Navarro, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, where I'm sure it's way colder than it is down here in Ohio. And he probably has snow on the ground. Who knows? We'll find out about that. But let's just bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Vic73. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Happy to be on here.
So, yeah. So, I forgot to bring this up earlier, but I see, since you left this part of town and you moved back up to Chicago, the beard went away.
Yeah, man. You actually you inspired me when I saw you when you cut yours down. I was like, I have somewhat of a jawline, I got something. No, it just got to be too much for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, yours came back. It was it's been like 3 weeks. It's all the way like it's a full beard. I cut mine maybe a week ago, and it's still just a stubble.
Yeah, I tell you. So first of all, I know who you are. I know a little bit about you, but all these people that are watching right now have no earthly idea who you are. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about you, and then we'll just jump on while you're on.
Yeah, man. Well, my name is Victor Navarro. I'm a brewer. That's kind of what helped me kind of get through a lot of struggles that I've gone through. But yeah, man, I'm just a guy who likes to create things and spread positivity to whoever's around me and just kind of keep trucking along and help out who I can along the way. Yeah, man, just very much happy to be on here with you.
So we were talking about earlier about your upbringing and how that affected your life and and how you got to where you are now. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm a first generation Hispanic. my grandfather immigrated here from Mexico, brought my mom and her siblings on over, and yeah, I mean, like that's where she met my dad here in Chicago. My dad, same story. My dad kind of did it a little more by himself. He came here, just him. His siblings eventually followed him, but yeah, I mean, they met here. They had me, and I grew up in this place called the southeast side of Chicago. It's a very like small like neighborhood in Chicago. It actually gets people misunderstand it for the south east Chicago is what they call it in Indiana. East side of Chicago, and then there's East Chicago. I grew up in the city, so I saw the city zip code, and yeah, it's a little forgotten neighborhood. A lot of steel mills in the area. There was a big boom with factory workers. It was a very wealthy neighborhood, wealthy area, and then for whatever reason, those steel mills closed, and everyone who lived there remained, and everyone just kind of scattered around. It's a little impoverished. It's trying to find its legs right now, but yeah, I mean that's where I grew up. That's where I come from. I always try and tell people like that's where I'm from. Like try and bring some light to the area I grew up in. As the east side.
Yeah, that like you were saying that reminds me, like up in northern Ohio by Cleveland, there's a town called Lorain, and Lorain was like that. Lorain was full of steel mills, and it was a very vibrant place to live when the steel mills were operating, and then all of a sudden, those steel mills shut down. And I remember at one point in my life, I think I knew somebody lived up there, so I went up there, and it was like the town was desolate because the steel mills were no longer operating, and it was like a ghost town pretty much. But I think now they're slowly starting to revitalize that. Um, so with you you're Hispanic, you know, first generation for you. You come here, well, your parents come here, and they start working in the factory life. Like for you, how was that impact on your life? Growing up in that type of hardworking scenario. How was that for you? Like growing up.
You kind of get a little taste of what it is to like grow up American, but uh, there's a sense of privilege that comes with that. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you get into like the capitalistic lifestyle growing up. Like you want things. It's kind of like what your parents want for you is so that you can have more things. My dad like dreamed of getting a nice car, and he got it. He worked really hard for it. So like on my end, like I was just seeing that happen, and it kind of makes me a little ungrateful actually for to not have to see like from the bottom where like the sacrifices my dad had to make. So it gives me like kind of this like sense of being spoiled, and that like I need to work, just as hard to get those things. It kind of messes you up a little bit to just kind of feel guilty for receiving all these things, and anything like good and that was given to you just kind of makes me feel I'm grateful for it now as an adult, but as a kid it was weird and confusing just to kind of
Mm-hmm.
see my parents kind of they loved possessions because they weren't able to get them as children. So it
Yeah.
put me in a weird position. It's like a very much like a something that isn't really talked about a ton, or like I had no one else to bounce this off of because we just wasn't good at communicating with other people going through the same things I was.
Yeah, that has to be like that had to be hard, because like here you are, you're a kid and you have no earthly idea why mom and dad are all about these earthly possessions, and then I'm sure it had an impact on you. Here you're growing up with other kids, and kids are seeing that. I'm sure that had to play some type of part onto your mental health. Like I'm sure it
Yeah,
impact it somewhat.
it makes you like kind of want those same things, and then
Mm-hmm.
just kind of they're not given to you at a certain age, and you want to go out and work for them, and just it's a weird feeling. We weren't rich, I'm over here saying I'm privileged, but we weren't rich. Like I didn't have a car given to me. I didn't have like a
Yeah.
savings account. There was no type of money passed down to me, but it was like growing up, like I had all the amenities that like an American kid would have. I had great like running water. We had all the things we needed. Our house was warm. So from my standpoint, like I'm saying that like those things were like very privileged in their eyes. So that's kind of how they raised me, is to kind of feel like a little guilty about these amenities that they didn't grow up with. So it kind of like twisted me around, like this is kind of the only life I know, and like you guys are telling me that like it could be way worse, but like I don't know what way worse is. And then it's like, well, you should feel grateful for these things. And like I'm like, okay, like I want to work hard just like you guys.
Yeah, so it's you're talking about that, and one of my watchers, Jeff Harris, he said that his mom's from Monterrey, Mexico, and grew up on the streets, and that's why she had a full house of furniture and fancy decor, because she didn't have that. So that's pretty interesting. So I mean that had to be
that's kind of how you show your wealth is through like your possessions. And yeah, it's a cultural thing for Hispanics.
Hey, what's going on, Tad? I see you in the comment section. So with that, so here you had that mentality. So when you started working, how did that affect you? Like, did you have that same mentality of, all right, I got to work and I got to stockpile all this money because my parents did it, so I have to do it? Like, did you ever come across that?
Yeah, so I was at a crossroads. I wasn't like the best in high school. I got accepted to a few colleges, and once that like conversation came up, I tried to get money from the government, but my parents made just enough money for the government to not offer me any money or any assistance. And my parents were, once I like told them like, hey, like college is going to cost money. I was told like straight up, just like, hey, like, why don't you just start working?
Yeah.
Like, look at what we've done. Like, we're working, and look at, we got this big house, and we have a nice garage. My childhood like backyard was built into a garage. I'm not trying to like make my parents seem like demons. Like they did this because they felt like, this is what they wanted. It's all about
that's like
gaining
the American
these like
dream,
accolades, these possessions. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not trying to demonize them. It's just like that effect on me is at 18 years old, I couldn't go to college like some of my friends were going. And it was kind of like, that's, everyone says like you go to school, you go to college, that's the way to go. Who wants to work coming out of high school? It's just kind of like it seems like falling off. It seems like you're not like going to make a better life for yourself. So I did that exactly because I didn't have money to go to school, and I didn't know any resources on how, like, what else I could have used. I just was not like educated on those things. So I went to work in construction, and took me to the East Coast. I worked for my uncle, and it was just like, 7 days a week. We would work the entire time. Sunday, I believe we got off at like 1 p.m. We worked from 5 a.m. to 1 on Sundays, and that was just kind of like the break. And I was like, this is it. This is just kind of like, I got to work and just make money. Like, this is just rinse and repeat is kind of like is the thing. And eventually, like, I wanted to like, make a different like decision. Like, I didn't like construction. So I went to where my parents recommended me, and that's to work inside of a factory, where I worked nights for 5 years, and that's kind of where the second part of my life kind of started, was working in this factory nights. I was work from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. and yeah, I mean, it was really, really tough.
Yeah, and I'm sure like so here you are doing that, you know, but you're doing that because you saw that in your parents' eyes. Like you saw that. All right, mom and dad are working their butts off. Um, I can't afford to go to college on my own, so I got to work these jobs. So so you start doing that. You start working in these factories. You start to get all this money. Um, I'm sure at one point in that aspect of your life, it had to come to a point to where you're like, all right, I'm enough is enough, so to speak. Like yeah, money can buy me happiness, but am I truly happy? Like because I mean it can mess with you. It can mess with your whole mentality. If you don't do the right things. So, was there a point in your life to where that was like the be all end all, so to speak? To where you knew that you had it, but you just didn't have it.
Yeah, I think like given the amount of hours that I would work and how many consecutive days, like I would just be so like lost in my head. I speak very little like around other people. I'm just mostly like just thinking about stupid things that are just like
Hmm.
cycling in my head. And
Yeah.
that job is you work by yourself for 12 hours, and it's plenty of time to go crazy to just like
Hmm.
think of all these absurd things. And um, just kind of realize that like you're not really like fulfilled, like yes, I had a nice car, I had a girlfriend, and I had like these things, but I didn't have time. And I was 23 at the time, and I'm sitting there just like realizing that there's just like this cycle just happening. It's just work. I'm Everyone around me, like I worked with much older people, you know and I eventually managed them. Like I was the young guy who became a supervisor in a factory, and I was doing very well. Like they all like commended me for how hard I was at working and how great I did. And those things like gave me like good gratification. Like I wanted those things. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I felt this like cycle of work. Like I would go home. I'd sleep at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and then I'd wake up at 3 p.m. And then it's like, do you even see daylight? Like right now, like we're getting very little sunlight, and like if
Hmm.
you're working nights, like you wake up, you go home when the sun is about to rise, and then you wake up when it's about to set, and it's like you need some sort of like sun. And I was too in my head, and I didn't have
Yeah.
like that mentality that like my parents had, that was like you have to work for it or else you won't have anything. So that's
Yeah.
like kind of the gear that I was missing. But I was given that like kind of privileged like aspect to where like I was told like I have to work for all these things, but like I didn't have that like fight or flight in me, because I had a safety net. Like
Yep.
there was people and the resources around me, like my family, to like help me. And eventually I fell out of working in that factory after 5 years. Just after just saving up so much money, I like eventually broke down, and I could not do it anymore. And I quit. I needed to
Yeah.
save myself from that cycle.
Yeah, because that type of lifestyle becomes addicted. Because that especially if that's all you know. Wake up, go to work, get that money, go home. You're not having time for yourself. You're not creating time for yourself because you've mentally ingrained into your brain that I must wake up and go to work every single day of the week. And then I'm sure on your days off, you were probably just so mentally exhausted and physically exhausted that you didn't want to do anything. Like, and that's good that you saw that you got to that point to where you're like, all right, this is no longer fun in my life. Um, the the amount of money that I have in my bank account is not bringing me happiness. So that's that's pretty amazing that you saw that. So what then at that current time when you saw that, what did you do to change that to go from all right, I'm miserable, like I've had all these bad thoughts, I'm miserable. What did you do to change that? Like what was your changing point?
I knew I had to break that cycle at some point. So one day I just I was smoking so many cigarettes. I went up to my the the manager on that shift that I was working on, and I walked up to him, and it just I had a girlfriend who had just broken up with me, and like that night, and it just like hit me. It struck me. It all happened at the same time, and I uh, I just walked up to him and said like, "Hey man, like it's time." It's time, and he's like, "Oh, it's time for a smoke break." Like Victor, you'd love to smoke, and I'm
You're
like,
like,
"No,
no.
man, it's time. It's time for me to go." And he looked at me, and Bob looked at me and was just with like great, just like respect for me. He's like, "All right, kid," like, he kind of saw like he knew that I was on an edge of some sort, and
Yeah.
he's like, "All right, man, like just leave your toolbox keys and your uniform is behind." And I totally get it. And at that time, it was 2 a.m. It was 2 a.m. I was in the middle of my shift, and just I was done with it. I got in my car and I just drove, and uh, it was that moment that like I didn't care any repercussions on not making money anymore.
Yeah.
It was just completely like released of me, and I felt so good. But there's that like creeping guilt in the back of my head that like
Mm-hmm.
my parents raised me to like want to make
My
like
my
a
parents are
life
gonna
for
be
myself through
disappointed.
this
Yeah.
factory work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was that like? How was explaining to your mom and your dad that hey mom and dad, guess what? I I just can't do it anymore. Like I mean, how was that? Like how did that interaction go?
That conversation was hard. I kept it for my mom for a little bit. My
Hmm.
parents they're divorced,
Yeah.
so my mom didn't find out until maybe like 2 or 3 months in. She's like, "Hey, like you've been going out a lot and like going like around." I took a road trip. This is what I did. It's like I left the job and I went on a road trip. I was gone for maybe like 2 weeks. I just went
Yeah.
by myself. I drove to Canada and just just hang out in Canada. If you have a lot of
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
you can go to Canada and just like sit at a bar and have a couple beers and just talk to a
Yeah.
stranger. That's just what I wanted was a unique experience, and it was I wanted to like make sure the rest of the like the walls aren't there anymore. Like
Hmm.
this is actually like freeing for me. But my mom, my mom still works. She works for Nabisco, so she works in a factory to this day. She makes great money. She's very happy with it, and like that's the only work she knows. So like having to explain to her that like I left that job was it like kind of she didn't understand why I said, "Mom, like I don't really want to be around anymore," and she just didn't like
Yeah.
understand that. Like it's really hard for older generations to kind of get any like mental health issues because like there's like undiscovered parts of their brain that they haven't explored, that they haven't had time to explore because they're too busy working off of survival. It's like
Yeah.
it's an instinct for the older generation is to work really hard. So my
Hmm.
mom didn't understand it, and it took a while for her to realize that, like, like I'm just like so broken of a person that I don't care about wealth. I don't care about any of this. Um,
Yep.
it took her a while, but eventually she came around, and my mom she's very understanding overall. But at that moment in time, I said, "Mom, like, you don't understand, like, why I don't want to work because I don't want to live." So, like, it
Yeah.
was
Like
just kind of
like it's
a weird kitchen
this is making
conversation,
me
that
yeah. Like this is making me like highly depressed. I want to give up on my life because it's just not funny anymore. Yeah, I get that totally. Because like my dad, for instance, says sounds like your parents. He worked at the same job for 51 years until he retired. All right, and that's
Mhm.
all he knew for 51 years. He now during those 51 years, he went from this position to this position. So he was very highly like sought after. Like everybody respected this man, but that's what he knew. He and he knew that from a very young age because he had to take care of his sisters. He was the only boy, and he had 5 sisters that he had to take care of. Um, because his dad wasn't around at that point, so he had to grow up. At the age of 14, 15, my dad started working, and like I said, for 51 years. So yeah, for you to see that and be like, all right, I get it, mom and dad. I get why you guys do this, but mentally, it and and I say this to everybody. If you get to that point in your life and you're working so much just to work, and not just to provide, but just to work because you think you have to work, it's gonna start playing with you mentally, and you're gonna break down. I mean, it well, so Jeff Harris said his dad had 2 jobs his whole entire life. So I mean, and Jeff is an older gentleman, but yeah, that I mean, I don't know. I think that this day and age, it's a whole lot easier for the younger the younger generation to, yes, their work ethic isn't the best, but I tell you, if they took some of what you're talking about now, then they would see that, all right, yes, I need to work and I need to get this, but also I don't want to mentally exhaust myself to where I'm thinking about, just going away and disappearing. Like, so I commend you for doing what you did to get out of that cycle. Especially knowing that that's all you were brought up with. Here you are, you're Hispanic, and then so you already have one scratch against you, so to speak. Like one notch is already gone, and then all you knew growing up was mom and dad worked, so I have to work, and I have to try to provide for myself. So, but yeah, I totally get the whole stigma of um work, work, work. But you work you work so much, you're gonna end up killing yourself. So, uh, I'm glad you took the time to enjoy the life that you were given to live, because not that many people get to do that. You know what I'm saying? So many people um, kill themselves because they work so much. And I think if people took the time to slow down like you did, and you recognized, hey, I mean, yes, you were at that point in your life to where, like, all right, I can slow down, I can enjoy my life, I can I can make up for the things I missed. You know, I can make up for the lost relationships I had. I can get friendships. I can get friendships back. I can start hanging out with my buddies, and doing things I like.
100%.
And you weren't stressed. I think if so many people did that now, I think the world would be a better place. But so many people are ingrained that to know that you wake up, you go to work, you come home, you go to bed, you wake up, you go to work. And I'm not gonna say that that's not a bad thing, but if anybody out there, if you get to the point to where you are working so much that it is taking a mental toll on you, it's time to step back and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I should be like Victor, and see that in my life to where I'm like, all right, I gotta take some type of break here, or I'm gonna mentally break myself. So with that, and in doing that, you got to live your life some, and you got to go around different places to meet people. At one point, did you say, all right, I really want to try to find my true passion, which I think I know what your true passion is, because I believe you're doing it now. But at one point, did you say, okay, um, enough is enough. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and get into the brewing industry, sort of, get into that side to where you can truly like what you're doing. Like at one point, did that happen?
So it was around the time I had 6 months of just hanging out, debauchery, and going on trips and things like that.
Yeah,
And I've always liked the homebrew. I had friends that I lived with while I was working with the factory. We were all actually working in manufacturing at the time, and uh, at night we would all work. We all worked nights, and then during the day, if we found sometime we would try and homebrew, brew beer, and like we were like, sky's the limit, with these guys. Um, we were talking about like having our own brewery and just kind of, dumb aspirations, just of a bunch of guys who like to drink beer.
Yeah.
And it was a passion for them. Like they really hit it. Like they eventually got out of manufacturing jobs and got into working in breweries, like at low levels. And I was like, well, that's not going to make me any money if I'm making, $13 an hour to like scoop grain into a bin. Like I don't want to do that because I'm so fixated on this like money thing.
Yeah.
And eventually those two guys, like they worked their way up to becoming head brewers of their own. And like now they both run their own breweries. And I'm very happy for them. Like I'm very happy that they stuck it out and they went those paths because it cashed out for them. So those guys are, my best friends. I see them and I'm like, I'm the one, like I can't just sit back and like, watch them just like do good for themselves. Like I want to do good for myself too, I have to kind of like they're paving the way. And one of my buddies, like he's my best friend, Eric, he threw me a lifeline. He's like, hey man, like I could pay you $15 an hour if you want to help, scrub tanks and get dirty, I'm like, dude, like at this point, like I just want to be able to like pay my bills, man. And like just not, I just want to feel fulfillment, I want to just get that type of drive back. Like it just, money is a temporary thing, it can drive you for so long, but like if you're like me and you're in your head about everything, it's not going to give you what you want. And fulfillment is what I want. I want purpose, and that's what I strive for. That's what I need to live at this point. It's not money, it's fulfillment. I want to be fulfilled. I don't care if I'm living in a straw hut. If I'm fulfilled in what I'm doing, I will gladly take that. I don't want a big boat. I'll take a canoe. It doesn't matter as long as I'm doing what I love to do, and that's brewing beer. That's creating something. That's having something that everyone can enjoy and have a conversation over, and just like the craft of it all is what gets me out of bed every day. And I'm just so happy to have made that sacrifice, to have like accepted that, like, hey, like you won't, make a ton of money starting out, and now I'm making, equal or more to like what I was making back then. Just thirsty for it, just wanting more and more overtime is like all I would want. I would just eat up all the overtime, 80 hours a week, no problem. Now I'm comfortably living. I work my job. It's very laborious. I sweat. I bend over. I mean, you see how it is in the brewery. It's back-breaking work, but I'm fulfilled. Like I can withstand all that labor because I'm happy at what I'm doing. I know that like me chipping at this block will result in someone taking a sip of a beer and being like, "This is good." Like, who made this? Or this is my kind of beer. I'd like to drink this, and it brings me like a lot of happiness. Just that sip of beer and saying like, "This is good,"
Yeah. So, real quick, Jeff Harris was saying like he was like you when he was younger. The grass didn't grow around his feet. He always got antsy and had to move on. Like for me, that's I'm not gonna say that that's me, but in a way that's me. It's like I don't know. I've never been one to where longevity. Like once I get to that second year mark, 3-year mark of the job, I'm like, all right, look. But now, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm the industry that I'm in now. Is the same industry that you're in, but it's an industry that I've always wanted to be in, so to speak. Now, do I want to be the guy that delivers the product all the time? Heck no, that's not that. That's one stepping stone. Um, my be all end all really is to work for a bigger company like bourbon. That's my thing.
Mhm.
Um, and just to let anybody out there know that if I should have warned you that some some of this would be triggering to people because there are people out there who are dealing with alcoholism and things of that nature. Um, if any of you who are on here right now are going through that, or you know somebody that's going through that, just if they want to reach out and talk about it, then they do. But I know that there's quite a few members that are watching that are actually sober. So, but yeah, so I totally commend what you're doing. I think it's awesome um that you took that that leap of faith, so to speak, and you broke that. You kind of broke that barrier. You broke that stigma, you know, and of working your ass off till you die, you know, and now here you are, you're still young. You're younger than I am, but here you are in an industry that's growing. The craft beer industry is not going to go away anytime soon. Uh, there might be breweries close here and there that just don't know how to do it right. But here you are doing something that you love and a passion that you've always wanted to do at a young age. So I definitely commend that. Um, and man, I tell you, if I ever get up to Chicago again, I know where I'm stopping.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. Come by,
I know I'm going to
man.
come
One
to.
more brewing company.
I know I'm going to come to one of the two locations. I know that guy. So
100%,
I,
man.
I I totally think that it's awesome that you came on to share this part of your life. I know that there's more to it because I just have a feeling that we have not yet touched the story of Victor Navarro. And I think you're a hard egg to crack, so to speak. But we're gonna get there one day. All right, one day. But
For sure,
I
man.
so tonight's episode is not gonna be that long. But before we wrap up, um, what's one word of advice? What's like one word of positive encouragement that you could give to everybody out there, who might be struggling with what you went through, and dealing with the that mentality, or just struggling with anything in life. What's one word of encouragement you could give to anybody?
I would say, at the end of every night, every single day, rather, every single day, um, you get in bed, you close your eyes, and it's always you, like it's always your thoughts that are in your head, and if it's your biggest priority to make amends with that person that's in your head, like that
Mm.
person that you're with is yourself. Like you need to make yourself happy, or accept yourself. I shouldn't say make yourself happy. It's okay to feel sad and bad. It's okay. Like those feelings all just kind of come through. But
Yeah,
it's always you. Uh, just accept yourself for who you are. Accept everything for what's good and accept everything for what's bad. Um, just full on accept you for who you are, and
yep.
don't compare yourself too much. It's very poisonous to try and compare yourself to someone on Instagram. There's a lot of comparison going on. Actually have a theory. It's called the Pop Tart theory. Real
All
quick,
right.
if I could go on about it.
Oh yeah, totally.
So
We have
like,
time.
I remember this clearly. At one of my very low points in life, um, I just get up in the middle of the night. It's one of those nights where my body is conditioned to work overnights, and it was when I was out of that factory job. I'm up at 2, 3 in the morning. So I go and like I get a Pop Tart, and it's cold. It's just a cold Pop Tart. I don't even like bother to warm it up. My body, like I've given up. It's a very low point in my life. I don't even want a warm Pop Tart. So I'm just eating a cold Pop Tart, and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I'm feeling so bad for myself because these people are all going to these trips. They're in Rome, they're in Greece, they're in Ibiza. I have friends that are my age doing all these things, and I'm just sitting here eating a cold Pop Tart, in my boxers, and just feeling so awful, like for myself. Everyone eats that cold Pop Tart.
Yep.
Everyone
Sometimes we
goes through
do.
that.
Yeah.
I want to create some sort of anti-Instagram to where like you reveal like weird sides of yourself and realize that like you're not so weird, you're not so different. Those people that were in Ibiza are eating that cold Pop Tart. I promise you, when you're posting that you're at a concert or you're somewhere doing something that you love, because you're only showing those like positive moments. You're never going to show the negative moments in your life.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just my cold Pop Tart theory is everyone eats the cold Pop Tart. Everyone just sits there in their underwear and eats a snack in the middle of the night and just you feel a little down. It's just you're never alone truly for what you feel. Everything has been done. Don't feel too bad about yourself and whatever situation you're in.
That's great. And man, what a great theory, the cold Pop Tart. I mean, that's man, and we could totally talk about the whole social media, Instagram bull malarkey. That's and that's what's wrong with today's society is that they feed you one thing that is totally off kilter, you know. But that's why I created this podcast is for people to come on and talk about the rawness of their lives and the pardon my language, the shit that they went through. Uh, Sorry, mom, if you're watching. The shit they went through to 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 get to a point to where they had to make the positive change. That's why I created this. This is the anti Instagram right here. Okay, because
Yeah, man,
and
I
that's
like it.
yeah, and I don't know. I think there's so many people we get wrapped up in our heads of this is how things have to be because that's what's shown to us. We see that whole Instagram thing on TV or we see that out in the world when that's not really how it's supposed to be. So
Yeah, I mean,
thank
you
you.
see these posts about like, oh, like by 30 years old, like you need to have two cars and a house, and you need to be like living off of like passive income, and it just puts all this pressure on you for no reason. Like,
Yeah.
I think you need to like take a step back and like breathe and just kind of like accept
Enjoy
like
life.
what's happening and like
Yeah.
manifest a better life for yourself because you can do that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will happen if you make the right decisions towards that goal. And I firmly believe that like anyone can do this. Like I have like comedy. Comedy is also that's my other passion
All
is
right.
to just make people laugh and that's just it. Like anyone can go on that stage. Anyone could go and make people
Yep.
laugh. Like if you have funny things to say, like go up on stage. Who cares if you embarrass yourself? It's the
Yeah.
Pop Tart theory. You just go up there and you make an embarrassment of yourself, and who cares? Like there's no judgment. Just like try it. Try and do what you love.
That's what it's all about. It's doing what you love. Don't get caught up in the daily monotony. You know, stop and smell the roses, so to speak. You know. So again, man,
100%.
thank you for coming on. Uh, I'm not gonna lie and say that I wasn't drawn to you when I saw you at work because I knew that there was something about you. Um, and then when you approached me and said, "Hey, if you ever want to have a guest on your podcast," like I was like, dude, yeah, because I was gonna ask you regardless. I was gonna ask you your story somewhat, because I wanted to find out, because they're those people in your lives that you'll meet that just exuberate calmness and just an over seeming thing of this is it, this is the way it should be. Um, and I'm here to make sure that you all feel it and that's you. You know that was you to me, and that is you to me. So thank you again for approaching me that day and asking me about it. I hope that people on here now got to sense a little bit of how we should just stop sometimes and take those small moments in life to just slow down and enjoy the things around us and not be so much in our heads about I got to work. Like slow down and take those trips. You know, like you
100%.
said, like you said, at night if you get hungry, eat your cold pop tart in your underwear. Like just enjoy life. So I'm gonna. I thank you, man. I thank you for coming on. You're a great dude. We'll have to reconnect again, but I'm gonna kick you backstage and I'm just gonna wrap up if you don't mind.
That's fine, man. Thanks for having me on, dude. I really appreciate you.
Man, hey, I appreciate you, Victor. I'll talk to you in a moment, buddy.
Hi, man.
All right. So, hey, that was a pretty awesome episode, wasn't it? I know it was different. It was different than most, but hey, not every episode's going to be the same, as the last. Speaking of episodes, if he's still on here, Mr. Jeff Harris. So, with the Christmas holiday coming up, my next episode was supposed to be on December the 22nd, which is the weekend before Christmas. Well, my next episode is going to be December the 15th. It will be the last episode of 2023. Um, and I think it's going to be a pretty awesome episode because I'm going to have Mr. Jeff Harris on. Right? Jeff Jeff Harris. Those of you who know him, he goes by Chicken Wing. Um, he's going to be my guest next week, and he's going to talk about his life, and I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about what him and Alley Cat have went through, and dealing with her cancer, things of that nature. Um, so tune in next week right here on Shape the Podcast for Jeff Harris to come on the episode. And I agree, Don. Jeff is a great guy. And hey, speaking of pretty awesome people, Cajun Meyer, I see you, buddy. Thanks for hopping on. I did give you a shout out with the patches for Jackson. By the way, those of you who are coming in and did not miss that, Jackson Menace, baby Jackson, who I got to be a part of raising some money for his family through the Jackson's Miracle Beard competition that White Oak put on. Right now, Cajun and Jared Menace are doing a fundraiser for the Ron McDonald House patches and stickers. They are $10 for the Heart Warrior patches and stickers. They're $10 for the Christmas time. I believe that there was a total of 50 made, and I believe they're right around 30 have been sold. So there's probably only about 20 or so left. If you're interested in getting one of those Heart Warrior Baby Jackson patches and stickers packs, just reach out to Cajun Meyer or Jared Menace, and they'll get you all taken care of. And 100% of that will go to the Ron McDonald House of Cincinnati, where Baby Jackson's parents are staying. With that, thank you guys. I appreciate it. As I say every week, if you're struggling with something in your life, just reach out, talk to somebody, especially during this holiday season. If you're struggling, if you feel like you're alone and you don't have anybody in your life to talk to, and you feel like that your life is just unmanageable or just not there, reach out. I'll be glad to talk to you. I'm sure, if you look on my friends list and you find Victor and you want to talk to Victor, you reach out and talk to him. Reach out and just talk to anybody, because I would hate to lose any of you during this holiday season due to, some form of depression or just loss in general. So that is it. Remember Aaron and Natalie Johnson. Remember those people, those two great individuals. Like I said earlier, Natalie's back in the hospital. She has to have a little small procedure done tomorrow and dealing with her kidney. Um, just remember them and everything that you do, whether it's big or small, uh, do something positive. You know, do something positive for somebody else, and in return, it'll help you out. So I'll leave you there, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you next Friday with Jeff Harris.